I thought stopping meant safety. That if I paused, if I hesitated long enough, the world would reset around me. That whatever I'd almost done would stay suspended in that moment, unfinished, harmless. I was wrong. Because the worst part wasn't being discovered. It was realizing that once the truth leans forward, it doesn't need permission to enter. The door closed behind Isabella with a soft, familiar click. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just final. The kind of sound you hear every day without thinking, until it marks the end of something. She didn't say my name right away. Neither of us moved. I stood near the hallway, heart pounding, suddenly hyper-aware of my posture, my breathing, my face. I felt exposed even though I was fully dressed, like the walls had already told her everything. "You're home early," I said. "Too fast." She hummed in response, dropping her bag slowly, deliberately. That was the first sign. Isabella never moved deliberately unless she was thinking hard. "Yeah," she said. "Didn't feel right staying." She looked at me then. Not casually. Not lovingly. She studied me. And something in her expression tightened. Not suspicion exactly, but recognition. Like she'd walked into a room where the air felt wrong. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. That was mistake number one. Because she tilted her head slightly, eyes narrowing just enough to make my stomach drop. "You're lying," she said calmly. Not accusing. Certain. I swallowed. "I'm just tired." She didn't respond immediately. Instead, her gaze drifted, past me, down the hallway, toward the bedroom. And then the bathroom. I felt it then. The shift. The moment where control slipped out of my hands without a single dramatic reveal. She hadn't seen anything yet. But she knew. "Did someone come over?" she asked. "No." Another lie. Another crack. "Maintenance?" she continued. My heart stuttered. "Yes." She nodded slowly, like that answered a question she'd already been asking herself. "Okay," she said. "That explains part of it." Part. I tried to laugh. Failed. "Explain what?" She stepped closer. Not aggressively. Intimately. Close enough that I could smell the road on her jacket, hear the tiredness in her breath. "You sound different," she said quietly. "You feel different." My chest tightened. "That phone call earlier," she continued. "You weren't just tired, Adrian. You were hiding." I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. She exhaled slowly, then said something I hadn't prepared for. "I'm not mad," she said. "But I'm not stupid either." My pulse roared in my ears. "What did you do?" she asked. There it was. Not "Are you cheating?" Not "Did you mess up?" Not "Who was here?" What did you do? I backed up a step without realizing it. Her eyes followed the movement instantly. "Don't," she said softly. "Don't back away from me." I froze. "I gave you space," she continued. "I left. I trusted you. So whatever this is, I need you to stop pretending it's nothing." My mind raced through exits. Denials. Half-truths. Confessions I could soften. But the problem was, I'd already tried to stop. And it hadn't worked. I glanced, just once, toward the bathroom. She followed my gaze. And then, she walked past me, straight toward it. "Isabella," I said sharply. She stopped at the doorway. The cabinet was closed, but not locked. The air in the room felt thick, expectant. She turned back to look at me, one hand resting on the doorframe. "This is your last chance," she said. Not threatening. Not angry. Honest. "If I open this," she continued, "we don't get to pretend anymore." My throat burned. I thought about the dress. The wig. The heels still out in the bedroom. The version of myself I'd tried, and failed, to put back in the box. I nodded once. Barely. She opened the cabinet. Silence stretched. Then, she inhaled sharply. Not in disgust. In surprise. She didn't touch anything at first. Just stared. Took it in. The fabric. The makeup. The unmistakable intent behind it all. Slowly, she straightened. She didn't look angry. She looked thoughtful. "That's why you sounded like that," she murmured. I waited for the question. It never came. Instead, She said something that made my knees go weak. So, she said quietly, how long have you been trying to stop? I looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time, I understood the truth behind the next part of my story. They didn't catch me. They didn't force me. They didn't even accuse me. They simply refused to let me back out. Isabella didn't touch anything. That's what unsettled me most. She didn't pick up the dress. Didn't lift the wig. Didn't even close the cabinet. She just stood there, staring at the contents like they were evidence in a case she'd already solved. I waited for disgust. It didn't come. I waited for anger. Still nothing. Instead, she turned to me slowly, arms crossing, not defensively but thoughtfully. You didn't buy this as a joke, she said. Not a question. No, I whispered. You didn't do this to embarrass me.
No.
And you didn't do it because you lost a bet or got dared. I shook my head. She nodded once, absorbing that. Okay, she said. Then this isn't about impulse. It's about control. The word hit me harder than accusation ever could. I was trying to stop, I said quickly. I swear. I didn't want this to be real, she finished. I fell silent. She stepped closer, closing the bathroom door behind her with a soft click. The sound wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The space instantly felt smaller, more intimate, like a confessional with no exit. You know what scares me? She asked quietly. I shook my head. That you were willing to suffocate something this important, she said. For years. And still call it love. My chest tightened. I didn't want to lose you. She smiled faintly.
Not warmly.
Not cruelly. Adrian, she said, you were already losing yourself. She reached into the cabinet then, not to grab the dress, but the wig. Lifted it carefully, fingers testing its weight, its texture. You hid this, she said. But you didn't destroy it. That matters. I swallowed. I didn't know how. That's because part of you didn't want to, she said. She met my eyes. And now that I've seen it, she continued, you don't get to pretend it doesn't exist anymore. My heart raced. I can put it away. We can forget this happened. She shook her head. No, she said gently. You don't get to bury it again just because I walked in. I felt cornered, not by anger, but by clarity. This isn't fair, I said weakly. She tilted her head. Neither was lying to me every day. That shut me up. She set the wig back down, then reached for the dress. Lifted it, held it up between us. You know what this looks like to me? She asked. I shook my head. It looks like someone who's been drowning, she said, and finally stopped fighting the water. My breath caught. I don't know what this means, I said. For us. She studied my face, searching for something.
Fear.
Resistance. Relief. She found all three. It means, she said slowly, that we don't move forward by pretending this didn't happen. She stepped past me, carrying the dress, into the bedroom. My legs moved before my brain caught up. Isabella, I said. What are you doing? She laid the dress on the bed, smoothly this time. Purposefully. Like setting terms. I'm making sure you don't confuse choice with avoidance, she said. My pulse thundered. You said you were trying to stop, she continued. So, I want to see something. I frowned. See what? She turned to face me. If you really want out, she said, you'll prove it. I stared at her, heart pounding.
How?
She gestured to the bed.
To finish what you started, she said.
And then decide. My breath caught. That's not, I started. Easy, she interrupted.
Good.
I shook my head. You don't understand what you're asking. I understand exactly, she said. You don't get clarity by running halfway back into the dark. She crossed her arms again, posture relaxed, eyes sharp. You have two options, she said calmly. You either put it all back on properly and look at yourself without panic. My throat went dry. Or, she continued, you throw it away in front of me. No hiding. No maybes. No later. I stared at the dress. At the life it represented. At the version of myself I'd tasted and tried to forget. And if I don't? I asked. She met my gaze without blinking. Then I don't let you keep lying to both of us. Silence fell between us. This wasn't coercion. This was something worse. This was being seen and not allowed to look away. I realized then what the title really meant. They didn't let me back out because backing out would have been another lie. And, for the first time in my life, I didn't know which option terrified me more. I didn't move. The dress lay on the bed between us like a dare neither of us was willing to speak aloud. The room felt charged, the air too thick to breathe properly. Isabella waited, not impatiently, not cruelly, but with the kind of stillness that tells you running won't help. You don't have to decide fast, she said. That was the lie. Because the truth was already pressing against my ribs, desperate to be acknowledged. My hands curled into fists. This isn't fair. She nodded once. You're right. That surprised me. But it is necessary, she added. I looked away from her, straight to the mirror across the room. The man staring back at me looked exhausted. Fractured. Someone who'd spent years negotiating with himself instead of living. I saw the outlines of every compromise I'd ever made. Every night I'd told myself tomorrow I'll be different. Isabella followed my gaze. That's who you're protecting, she said quietly. The version of you that survived by shrinking. Her words cut clean. I don't want to lose you, I said. She stepped closer. Not touching me. Not yet. You already were, she said. Just slowly. My throat burned. She reached past me and picked up the heels. Not offering them. Placing them on the floor in front of the mirror. Then she stepped back. I'm not making you do anything, she said calmly. I'm making sure you don't lie about why you won't. Something snapped then. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a quiet internal fracture. The sound of resistance giving way. I moved. Slowly. Deliberately. Every step toward the bed felt heavier than the last, like gravity itself was trying to pull me back into the person I'd been pretending to be. My fingers brushed the fabric of the dress again, and this time I didn't flinch. Isabella watched without interrupting. No instructions. No encouragement. No mercy. I undressed in silence. Not rushed. Not hidden. Every layer felt like shedding an excuse. When I stepped back into the dress, my hands were steady. That terrified me more than panic ever had. The fabric settled against my body, like it remembered me. Like it had been waiting. I pulled the zipper up slowly, breath shallow, heart pounding, not with fear now, but with recognition. Isabella inhaled softly. I didn't look at her. I couldn't. I put the wig on next. Adjusted it properly this time. No rushing. No half measures. When I slid my feet into the heels, I nearly lost my balance, caught myself against the dresser. She didn't move to help. She didn't need to. Now, she said quietly. I turned. The mirror reflected someone I could no longer deny. Not a costume. Not a secret. A truth with nowhere left to hide. My chest tightened. I can't go back now. I know, she said. That was when I realized the trap. Not malicious. Not cruel. But absolute. She stepped beside me, eyes meeting my reflection instead of my face. This is the part people don't talk about, she said. The moment where pretending stops working. My voice shook. What happens now? She turned to me then and said the words that sealed it. You don't get to back out, she said gently. Because now you know. I stared at her. So, what? This is just who I am now. She considered that. No, she said. This is who you've been. My knees felt weak. And if I say I don't want this? I asked. She met my eyes without blinking. Then you'll still want it, she said. You'll just hate yourself for it. Silence swallowed the room. I understood then. This wasn't about her controlling me. This was about her refusing to let me destroy myself with denial. She reached out, not to touch me, but to turn the mirror slightly. So look, she said. Really look. I did. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel shame. I felt fear. Not of being seen, but of what it would mean if I accepted this fully. Because acceptance changes things. It demands action. And as Isabella stood beside me, calm, unwavering, unyielding, I realized the truth behind everything that had happened. They didn't trap me. They didn't force me. They didn't threaten me. They simply closed the door behind me and waited for me to stop pretending I wanted it open. Isabella didn't ask me to take it off. That was the first thing that told me this wasn't a test. She didn't step back either. She stayed where she was, close enough that I could feel her presence beside me, not looming, not judging, just there. Like she'd decided something and was waiting for me to catch up.
You can sit, she said.
Not you should. Not if you want. I lowered myself onto the edge of the bed carefully, the dress riding up slightly, the heels forcing my posture into something unfamiliar. Every movement felt exposed now, not because I was dressed like this, but because I wasn't hiding anymore. Isabella sat too.
Not next to me.
Across from me. Balanced. Intentional. You're shaking, she observed. I looked down. She was right. My hands trembled in my lap, fingers curling into the fabric like it might anchor me. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel, I admitted.
That's honest, she said.
Start there. I laughed weakly. That's it? Years of secrecy, one breakdown, and now I just start. She met my eyes. Yes, she said, because everything before this was avoidance. The word hit harder now than before. Avoidance. Not confusion. Not weakness. Avoidance implies choice. I swallowed. What if this ruins everything? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she asked, what if hiding it already did? Silence settled between us again, but it felt different now. Not like a trap, like a line drawn in ink. You're not allowed to disappear into this either, she continued. I won't trade one lie for another. I frowned. What does that mean? It means, she said calmly, this doesn't become something you sneak around with. And it doesn't become something you perform for me either. My chest tightened. Then what does it become? She stood, walked to the dresser, opened a drawer. I felt my pulse spike again, instinctively bracing, but she didn't pull out anything dramatic. No lingerie. No ultimatum. She pulled out her phone. I'm not ready to explain this to anyone, she said. And neither are you. She turned the screen toward me. A calendar reminder. Tomorrow evening. A dinner reservation. My stomach dropped. What's that? She locked eyes with me. That, she said, is the first moment you don't get to choose comfort. My breath caught. You're not serious. I am, she said evenly. Not like this. Not exposed. Not reckless. Then what? She stepped closer.
You'll decide how, she said.
But you won't decide if. The weight of her words settled slowly, terrifyingly. You said I didn't get to back out, I whispered. She nodded. And now, she added, you don't get to pretend this only exists when you're alone. I looked down at myself again, at the dress, the heels, the person I'd stopped denying. My voice came out barely audible. What if I fail?
She didn't hesitate.
Then we deal with that, she said. But you don't get to vanish. She reached out then, finally, and adjusted the strap of the dress where it had slipped. The touch was brief, careful, grounding. Not possessive. Not cruel. Claiming in a way that scared me more than anger ever could. You fought this for a long time, she said softly. Now you live with it. She stepped back. Get some rest, she said. Tomorrow's going to feel very real. She left the room. The door didn't close fully. I sat there alone, heart racing, mind spiraling. A dinner. A deadline. A future that suddenly had no shadows left to hide in. They didn't force me. They didn't threaten me. They simply made sure the next step couldn't be undone. And as I stared at my reflection one last time before standing up, a single thought echoed louder than fear. If this is only the beginning, what happens when the world starts looking back?